So welcome to Community News and Views. Our guest today is Bill Fisher. Bill Fisher is widely known in the Quad Cities as an organizer for the St. Patrick's Day Parade and has been involved in it for several years. But before that, he has had and still has an illustrious history, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. So welcome, Bill, to Community Views and News. We're glad to have you. And could you tell us, when is the parade?
The parade will be Saturday, the 16th of March, at downtown Rock Island, Island, across the bridge, and into Davenport, and terminate River Drive. And from there we'll go down to the Coliseum, where we'll have the bash, during live music and the Moline School of Irish Dance, and a host of other events.
How long have you been involved with the parade?
I think I was a spectator in '86 and '87, so I would have started in '88.
In '88.
But that was my main thrust, was to get involved in the parade. But I eventually, because of my interest in history and genealogy, I evolved into being the chairman of the Irish Culture Committee, which is featured at the Éireann Feis, which is in the district in downtown Rock Island, in September, and also at the Irish Heritage Day program, which is held on March 17th this year at the Mississippi Hall in the River Center in Davenport.
So prior to '88, what were you doing? You retired from the Moline Police Department many, many years ago, didn't
that was
you?
in '85.
That was in '85.
So, and from '85 to '88, I really didn't do a whole lot. I like to dabble in wood carvings and bike riding, and I play Rolle Bolle in the Belgian community in Western Illinois, and often have gone to Minnesota. There's a large Belgian community up there. And I've even gone to west of Iowa City and played Rolle Bolle with the Iowegians.
And what brought you to this interest in Rolle Bolle?
Well, my wife was a Belgian girl, and of course her father had a Rolle Bolle, and right across the street from my house is the Rolle Bolle court for 3 of the Boulders clubs. And of course I stand here on my porch and watch them play Bolle, and pretty soon I was drawn to get closer, and I became addicted, just watching those guys bowl. And one thing led to another. I experimented a little bit, and then became friends with many of them, and now I'm pretty well hooked now. 2 or 3, maybe 4 times a week sometimes.
Wow.
Play Rolle Bolle.
And now this is an outdoor sport, or is it an indoor sport?
It's primarily an outdoor sport, but because the love of the game was so predominant throughout the Western Illinois area, they have established in several communities indoor courts. For example, the basement of the Friend Circle Club in Moline, and there is one earthen court in the East End Club in Moline, and there's one in Atkinson, there's one in Anawan, there's one in Kewanee. So they have developed them.
Are you willing to let the audience know your rating, or?
I have, I think I say I'm probably average. I've been in the championship, I think maybe 3 times. But like I say, I've probably only won 1 or 2 championships of any merit. I just lack that real finely honed skill. I'm just average. If I got good teammates, I might do well.
Bill, You said you retired from the police department in '85. How long were you in the Moline Police Department?
28 years.
28.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your career? You started out on the beat or something?
Yeah, I was on the midnight shift as a patrolman
Mm-hmm.
for about 3 years, and then I went into the traffic division.
Mm-hmm.
And the city sent me to a variety of traffic-related schools,
Mm-hmm.
where I became a accident reconstructionist,
Mm-hmm.
an investigator for fatal accidents and high property damage accidents and that sort of stuff. And then evolved in '68. Then I was fortunate enough to be promoted to sergeant, and then I went back into the patrol division. And then from the patrol division, I eventually got back into the traffic section, and then I got promoted again to lieutenant. And then too, I was on the patrol division, then back to traffic, and then I was promoted to captain, and was then in charge of the jail, training, the building, maintaining the building, purchasing squad cars, that sort of stuff. In 1968, I was on a three-wheel motorcycle, actively involved in Dad's Club baseball, Babe Ruth baseball, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and pedestrian safety at the schools, bike safety. Yeah, I was probably pretty visible. I really enjoyed those days. It was a lot of fun.
And you were quite popular at that time too, as I recall, and recipient of some awards. And
I was fortunate enough to be elected or selected as Patrolman of the Year and Outstanding Young Man of the Year and Citizen of the Year. Apparently, some people appreciated my civic activities and rewarded me, which I'm very grateful for.
This wood carving, that's another hobby of yours. I've
Yes.
seen you do that. How long have you been doing that?
Oh, boy, I started that when my oldest boy, who will be 47 this year, so he was 11, so 36 years ago. I did with my career as a law enforcement officer. I found it to be very therapeutic, because I could sit down in the basement with a cigar and sit there and whittle till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And it must have had great therapy results, because I really enjoyed it. And then it got where I tried to do everything Will and Bill did. Every time, every page I'd tear out, I'd try to carve that. And I did carve a lot of them, and it just kept growing, and my interest got more and more. And then I'd go to the Mississippi Valley Fair, where they had the International Woodcarvers Congress. Boy, that goes back, first one might have been like 1964 or 5. So I started going to just see the wood carvings. They had wonderful, wonderful collection of wood carving. Then they had a judging contest. And next thing you know, I got to know the people who organized that. Keep at it. The trophies that I do, I've never done an Irish trophy. I did a Scottish and the Belgian Rolle Bollers. I do them. We do a, he's about like that. Maybe it's a woman. And then we make a miniature Rolle Bolle, and we stand the carving on there and put a plate on there, first place. And they're really very popular. And me and another guy does those, Leo Huggard, is a natural artist. He can draw and paint. He designed this, and his family is of Belgian origins, so he designed this. He and I would do them for 3 bowling leagues, 1 outdoor and 2 indoor leagues that we bowled in. But now we've been doing that, boy, we've carved a lot of them.
How many do you carve a year then?
We would do 20 a year, He'd do 10 and I'd do 10.
Wow. I think you were also at one time field marshal or for the parade.
Grand Marshal.
Grand Marshal,
oh, yes.
that's it.
Grand Marshal 1995.
Uh-huh.
Yes, indeed. My Mother of the Year was Millie Smutzer from Davenport, and we reigned that weekend as the royalty of the Irish. Yes, we had a great time. Wonderful time.
Your background then as Irish, and your parents or your forefathers came from Ireland?
Well, we're having trouble tracing that right now. My oldest son and I are currently deeply involved in family genealogy, and we're having a little problem. We think that the Irish came from County Armagh, and the patriarch of that family would have been a Scotsman, which is very characteristic. The Scotch-Irish are very popular in this country, and that's because of the plantation of Northern Ireland that was done by, King William, I believe, when they wanted to populate Northern Ireland with Protestants. So they gave the Scots many acres if they'd come and settle there. That's what history says. Now, we think that a man named James McAfee was born on the Isle of Colonsay in 1638, which is right off the coast of Scotland. He immigrated to Ireland, to County Armagh in fairly early, lived there for quite a while, died, and his children, again James and John McAfee, married Irish, and therein comes my family, who were the Curries, and then eventually a Curry married a White, and my mother's name was White. But we think they come over to America probably in the mid-18th century, 1740, somewhere around there. So that gap there is very difficult to trace. There's no history. I spent a week in the Northern Ireland public records researching, and although there's a lot of Whites and Curries and McAfees, and even Fisher, which I think is probably English, and there again, I can only find him in 1800 in Pennsylvania. It just says born in America. We can't find his father. So that's primarily my only research has been able to develop for sure that the Whites immigrated from County Armagh along with Curry and McAfee, probably 1740. Landed in Virginia, and then did run up and down the Cumberland Gap and all that business in there, helping settle this country. And from there through Kentucky, Tennessee, Illinois, and Missouri. And here I am.
And you have how many children then?
4.
Okay.
3 boys and a girl.
And they're all here in the Quad Cities area?
No, my oldest boy is a research a doctor. He's got a PhD at the Louisiana State University, the medical center in New Orleans. The next oldest boy is here, currently brokering in the stock market, and I think he's trying to find something else too. And he's also a very handy cabinet maker. Does a lot of real fine woodworking, reproducing antiques, and then designing some of his own. The daughter is here, who is the owner of the Two Rivers Massage, where she's a trained, skilled, certified massage therapist.
Nice.
She has a business in downtown Moline and in the Quad City area. And my youngest boy is also into medical researching in Chicago, downtown Chicago. He lives in Gurnee with his 2 twin boys, but works in downtown Chicago. Now the boy here has 5 children here, and the boy in New Orleans has 3 girls there. So I got 10 grandkids,
Wow.
5 of each, from ages of 4 to 23, I think it is.
So that makes you feel pretty proud that your family's doing well.
Yeah, yeah, very successful. Fortunately, the land of milk and honey. It's really, really a wonderful place to live. You can really make great strides if you're dedicated, and you got the get up and go. You can do well in this country, and they're doing pretty good.
Talk about the Irish heritage. You know that it was quite a struggle in the beginning for, as new immigrants, your forefathers, and perhaps some of those records that you were talking about got lost on the way, and it's hard to find out. When you talk about genealogy, for some people in our audience have asked, how do we, where do you start?
It's very difficult. You have to start with known factors, and the best thing for a young person now, I can't emphasize it enough, is to talk to your parents and your uncles and aunts and grandparents and get it on tape and get photographs and keep every little tidbit of information you can get, because you never know where this clue is going to come from. So you start by asking your parents and then your grandparents and tying down things that you know. That's what I learned when I went to Ireland, when I was in the research laboratory in Belfast. At that institution, it's called PRONI. It's an acronym, P-R-O-N-I, Public Records of Northern Ireland. Boy, they have a wonderful facility there. But if you don't know where you're coming from, then it's going to be very difficult to get where you want to go. So you have to have those links established as far back as you can take them. And really, I couldn't even do that, because I think the best I could do is Benjamin Franklin White. Probably married a Dutch woman in New York. But I can't confirm any of that. I can't prove any of it. So when I went to Northern Ireland, I was really handicapped because I didn't have any real concrete evidence. Because over there, you see, if you could have found, like Benjamin Andrew White, and he begot a son named Benjamin Franklin White, that would have been a nice tie. See, but I could not do that. So, got to get your act together in this part from what you know for sure, or perhaps you know on the other end. Some families know, right? They've got it back to 13th, 14th century, and it's pretty well documented, but they lose it somewhere when they transfer from Europe to America. Well, then you can start there, but you got to have known facts. And whichever way you go, it's got to be pretty solid.
So, would like going to old newspapers and clipping out obituaries or something like that? Is
Yes.
that one way?
Anything, any clue could come. I mean, even from your grandfather might mention. I remember in Roots. Remember Alex Haley when he did Roots, and he said this young kid who was trying to remember what his grandfather said. He kept saying Nephlis, Nephlis, and they couldn't figure out what it meant. It was crazy. Their language was contrived from Swahili or whatever into American, and it was really distorted. And finally, he finally determined what it meant was Annapolis. Annapolis. That was a port of entry for the slaves. But one little clue, Annapolis, Annapolis. And Haley finally discovered what he meant was Annapolis. So it's a big clue. He went to Annapolis and made great discoveries there. So get anything you can down on in writing or photographs or newspaper articles or what have you. We even wrote to a library in Boston about the passengers on a certain ship. I was looking for a woman named Sarah Anna Hatfield, which would have been I think a great grandmother. There were 2 or 3 Sarah Anna Hatfields. Well, one was Sarah Hatfield, one was Anna Hatfield, and one was Sarah Anna Hatfield. On a what they call a ship manifest. But again, I couldn't take it any further than there. All I know is that there was some women named Hatfield on a ship, probably my ancestor, but I can't prove it because there's not enough tie in there.
You went to Ireland how many times now?
I've been to Ireland 3 times.
Uh-huh.
And spent a great deal of time. The one time I was there for a month. I stayed pretty much the whole month of October, late September up to late October in 1996.
Uh-huh.
And did a lot of research and spoke to genealogists, professional genealogists in downtown Belfast. And he reviewed everything that I had done, and I wanted him to take it and see what he could do with it. And he was very straightforward. He said, I can't do any more than you've done. I'll not determine one more thing that you haven't already determined. And if you want to pay me, I think it was, $250, $300, I'll be glad to do it, but I'll just duplicate what you've got. So I thought that was very honest of him, very straightforward. So that kind of ended my quest. And Bill has got this all documented. He's really got a lot of information, mostly on his mother's, my wife's side, because there's her family's Belgians, and her cousin in Belgium has done a marvelous job, and he is one that's gone back to, I think maybe 1500s, but it's so easy because they're pretty much right there in Europe, and maybe even just in Belgium, and he's got it all well documented. Well, Bill has taken that and developed it even more. And the mother of the girls, Bill's wife was Adeline Mascalier from Lyon, France, and they too have got history forever. So he's really got a lot of information in there. I think he's up to 30,000 names.
Wow.
In the Fishers, the Whites, the Mascaliers, and the Castellines. So I think he's up to 30. I think he said 20 or 30,000. A lot of names, but you know how it goes.
Right.
You got your mom and dad, and that's 2. Now you got to go to 4. Then you got to go to 8, and it just multiplies so rapidly. So he's done quite a bit of work.
So this has brought some diversity into your family, like with so many different parts of Europe together, and it's sort of a typical American experience.
Yes, I think it is indeed. I think we are indeed a smelting pot, and it just keeps smelting more and more. And pretty soon, to find some ethnic family that's pure, even now, I don't think. I have people tell me that they're pure Irish or pure Belgian. I don't think so. If you go back far enough, you're going to find a nasty Viking that got in there somewhere. It's just not likely that there's anybody pure, but I don't think that makes any difference.
Right. And so the experience of the Irish parade brings out a sort of an enthusiasm for cultures, for that kind of an experience, or an attachment to the past.
Yes, I think it's great. I think the diversity in this country is unmatched anywhere else. Unfortunately, some people take umbrage at that, but I think it makes us the most unique community and society in the world. I'll grant you, there's nothing I love more than when I've been to Belgium, I've been to France, I've been to Korea, I've been to Japan, and Ireland and Scotland and England. They're wonderful. I love their cultures, all of them. They're great, but none of them are as diverse or as enriched as the American culture is because of that diversity. Wonderful, wonderful. It's just like mixing up mulligan stew, or some other concoction that involves a variety of flavors and spices, and that's just what we are in this country. Great country.
Well, Bill, tell us a little bit about your experience in Ireland. Do you have a favorite place that you like more than others? You've toured almost the whole country.
I would think I've been in all of the counties. 32? I think there's 32.
Is it?
Castle ruins, they're just breathtaking to me. And probably the one that caught my fancy the most is in Northern Ireland, in County. It's the Castle Dunluce. and it's right on the coast. Antrim or Derry, maybe. Beautiful, beautiful setting. As you're driving along, you know, the ocean is right there, you know, a block or two, the road's in a little ways from the ocean, and you're going along the edge of the ocean, and as you round this one corner, there's that's done loose. It's just brilliant. It's of course it's a ruin, but it was in its day an elaborate fortress and a very interesting castle. And that was one thing that stuck in my mind. But also the Ulster American Folk Park in Omagh, the city of Omagh. That was an illustration there that featured the Mellon family, the bankers in America, the Mellon bankers. And that was his origination, and there's still the original home, perhaps the original chicken coop. I can't remember what buildings, the original barn. Very interesting. The museum has got a partial section of a coffin ship. You can actually walk right into it. They have human characterizations of a wonderful medium. I don't know what it is, but they're so lifelike, so realistic. And so many things there brought to mind my family, because they were probably Protestant, and they probably, I know they left from Belfast, probably in the mid-1700s, and that's what this was depicting in this museum. And it just seemed like to me that's probably pretty much what my family had done. But then on the other hand, on a rainy day, you're driving through the country, and the sun bursts through, and you rise up on the hill, and you get a panoramic view of the wonderful green, the 40 shades of green in Ireland, and it just glistens like diamonds, you know, with the sun reflecting off of the dewdrops and the raindrops. It's pretty hard to narrow one specific place down, because even Cove is the last port for the Titanic. Picked up her last passengers there before the fatal crash. The Lusitania was sunk right off the coast of Ireland. It's off County Cork, in the city of Cork, and then the port is called Cove. It's C-O-B-H, but it's pronounced Cove. And they have a statue there of the first registered Ellis Island immigrant, who is Annie Moore, and her and her brothers, her two brothers, little brothers, left there, came to Ellis Island, and that was commemorated by a wonderful life-size statue of Annie Moore on the port there at Cove. And then another one was done in America with her two brothers getting off the ship, and that has been reproduced. Matter of fact, I got a copy of it, and we use it as the award in the presentation of the Gilhooly Award, which we present every year at Heritage Day, for that citizen who most emulates the undying persistence of the Irish spirit. And that's what Annie Moore did. Come to America, had terribly tragic life, deaths, premature deaths, hardships, great extended illnesses, and yet she survived to go on, have her kids educated. I think one was a doctor, one was a lawyer. You know, so we try to use the Annie Moore image to present this.
What year did she come?
92, I think, 1892.
1892.
Yeah, quite a gal, quite a story. So that too is very memorable. And like I say, though, it's hard when you drive into this little town and there's a pub and you can hear the music rocking and rolling, and you go in there and you get a nice meal and live music. These guys are jamming in there. There's a violinist and a hornpipe, the uilleann pipes, a mandolin maybe, or a banjo, or those guys are just having a great time, and they're wonderful musicians. You never heard of them, probably never will, because they just live in the little villages around there. But you sit there and snap your fingers and pat your toe and drink a pint of Guinness, maybe, or harp. A great time. It's all wonderful. Can't go wrong in Ireland. But it helps to have the tingling in your soul. You know, it seemed like when I was in Armagh, in the research laboratories or libraries there, and then in Belfast, there was something that just tingled. I just felt like that my bones were home, you know, where I originated, at least where Grandpa White originated, and it's a special meaning.
Well, Bill, we're just about running out of time, and I want to thank you for being a guest on Community Views and News. As someone who's been in law enforcement, who's also now with the Irish Heritage Society, also in Rolle Bolle, and plus he's also a wood carver. And I don't know what else you do on the side, Bill.
Ride my bicycle.
Yeah, ride your bicycle. Yeah. Well, thank you again.
These days, that whether they realize it or not, those who receive that money do not want to bite the hand, you know, that's coming through with this money. And if you come up with some of these ideas, they may be reluctant because they know this might chill donations in the future. So I would think the obvious answer there is public financing of elections.
Some countries do that.
Sure. It would save money. Let me tell you, Enron's a good case. The utilities, look at the way they ripped off the public last year. It cost people hundreds of dollars, individuals who couldn't afford it. Well, it's very obvious to me that these things should be adjusted, or the public should be protected against this type of thing. And yet you have Enron making wild contributions to everybody that they could lay their hands on in elected you know, positions. And we did not get that protection. We got ripped off. And failure to defend the interests of the public is costly, harmful, and unnecessary. Yeah.
Now, some people seem to say, well, fortunately, the public has short memory because, say, the next election, people who get elected seem to be elected on a platform of saying, you know, it's better to have non-government interference, get the government off our backs, versus someone who says, well, we really need some, as you were espousing, that we really need some government interaction here, intervention, And so it's more likely the person who says less government gets elected, and then versus the person who says we need some government intervention. So,
if we want to avoid a real economic and social train wreck, we're going to have to change that. And again, public financing would be one thing. Then, two, we've got to overcome if there is a short memory span, because there's so many things crowding in on people, and they're working hard and working more, and they're tired and this thing and so forth. They're not being, as we said earlier, informed about what's going on. Well, this is where labor and other groups can come in and bring the facts. This is what we do in labor. We bring the issues, present them to the members, and let them make up their own minds, what they want to do, whom they want to support. And let me tell you, there are still, in spite of the fact of all this money and all this corruption and so forth, there are still some very good people in the state houses, in local city governments, in counties, and in Congress. People who remember where they came from and are not snowed by panic or anything of that sort, to stand up and, challenge and really try to represent the people. And we have one, for example, Lane Evans, who has consistently been for the veterans, retirees, working families, others, who need help. He's for people, and so forth. And that's just one of several others.